Schoonmaker available in 90% of Yahoo leagues, Tom. Again, nobody's on bye this week, so maybe you had somebody this past week who was on bye who's back, like an Evan Ingram, for instance. But all that being said, Luke Schoonmaker could be a borderline top 12 option.
Yeah, another double-digit fantasy performance. Now this is the second game that Jake Ferguson has missed, and he's been able to. Actually, it's the third game where Ferguson has missed significant time because of that Monday night game 2 weeks ago as well. And Schoonmaker has hit double-digit fantasy points in all these games, and just the way Cooper Rush is playing, it's all low A-dot. Get the ball out of his hands quick. He's leading the league in time to throw at 2.07 seconds. In our fantasy points data. So everything is out quick. So a lot of these targets are funneling towards the tight ends that aren't going towards CeeDee Lamb. So he's very viable. As you said, the Giants aren't necessarily a scary matchup. The only thing I would worry about is, this is actually a game that they maybe could control, and they don't have to get in these real pass-heavy game scripts that they've been in the last couple of weeks. So, but still, he's looking very viable if you're looking for a streamer this week.
What? Why are you shaking your head? You're welcome.
We have entered the teenage weeks of the 2024 NFL season, Tom Brawley. And for the first time this season, I feel like we're going to start the Waiver Wire show here at the Fantasy Points YouTube channel talking about running backs. And that's probably because I'm not trying to tell you that there's a great option out there, but that's just shows you the dearth of options at other positions. But first, Tom Brawley, I have been telling everybody all year long that you cover 80-plus players, including kickers and defenses, in the waiver wire column every week. Well, I have to throw it out there that there is a Black Friday, Thanksgiving week flash sale at FantasyPoints.com. NFL Standard, which gets you all of our season-long stuff, $3. NFL Premium, which includes betting and DFS content, $10. And the All-In package, which gets you all of that plus the NFL Data Suite, $40 for the rest of the season. And if you want to check out the data suite, well, guess what? It's free this week. So you can go to data.fantasypoints.com and try all of our advanced tools. You will be really glad you did. So I'm going to do my little sales pitch. And now, Tom, I'm going to sell you on some of these players on the waiver wire. Let's start at the running back position in week 13. And this could be important because there are 6 teams on bye in week 14. The NFL, you are awful putting 6 teams on bye in week 14. But that's the card we are dealt, Tom. And let's start at the top of the waiver wire and talk about Tank Bigsby with the Jaguars, who are coming off of bye. Doug Peterson still has his job. He's like Milton in Office Space. They might have moved his office. He just keeps showing up. They kind of forget he works there. But Tank Bigsby is available in 60% of leagues. He's available, I'm guessing in large part because he got dropped over the bye. And Travis Etienne obviously has been ineffective, and he's been dealing with injuries. So Tank Bigsby, 39% owned in Yahoo leagues, somebody who might be out there on the waiver wire for you.
Yeah, he was probably dropped over the bye week here. Teams were hard-pressed looking for players to fill in some roster spots that were empty this past week. So Bigsby was dropped in a high percentage of leagues, and he also had an ankle injury before the bye as well. Travis Etienne did most of the work before the injury. So hopefully he's healthy again this week and ready to play. When they were both together the last time, Bigsby led this backfield. So that was back in week 9. So he's been the far more effective runner here. He actually ranks right with the best runners in the league right now. 4th in explosive run rate at 7.4%. Yards after contact per attempt, he's at 3.8 yards, which is leading the league. And that's among all backs with 75 or more carries from our Fantasy Points data suite. So if you want to check out those stats, go check out the site this week, and you can see all of these numbers. But Tank Bigsby is performing extremely well in all these metrics. So hopefully the Jaguars see that he is the better player, continue to feed him here. And the schedule also looks fantastic. Not so much this week. You got Houston, Tennessee, but you got the Jets, Las Vegas, Tennessee. So there's some really good spots. I think they could actually be relatively competitive against that schedule. That's been a big issue with the Jaguars the last couple of weeks. Obviously, they got slammed by the Lions before the bye. But maybe Trevor Lawrence is going to get back this week as well. Another guy you might want to look at off the waiver wire who's been heavily dropped. He's supposed to be back at practice this week. So this offense should be more competitive coming out of their bye. Hopefully we get some closer game scripts for Tank Bigsby to be active here in the final couple weeks of the season.
I'm not sure how much longer Antonio Pierce is going to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and we get a national, I guess, an island game. I don't even know what the hell service this game's on Friday.
I think this is an Amazon. I'm not sure though.
Well,
so
it's on
maybe this is one of those you don't want to even turn it on because this is a 13-point spread. Is what I
guess the national networks are going to carry all the Thanksgiving games. So I guess Amazon gets a game kicked to Friday. It's part of their deal. Whatever. Black Friday, the Raiders play the Chiefs, and I don't know how much longer Antonio Pierce is going to have that job. And here's one of the reasons. Now, I understand he's north of 30, but the Raiders' backfield has been a mess all season long. Zamir White can't go anywhere. He's hurt. Alexander Madison's averaging under 3 yards per carry. He's hurt. Ameer Abdullah comes in, and he scores 17.5 fantasy points. He scores a receiving touchdown for the second consecutive game. I'm not trying to tell you the guy's going to win you your league, Tom, but it kind of feels like Ameer Abdullah should have gotten more touches earlier in the season.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a major contributor as a runner, and I'm sure that's what Pierce was looking at, but he can certainly...
They got to be a running football team.
Yeah,
right?
They got to be smash mouth, and, but he's been very effective as a receiver here, and we're looking at a spread here where they're going to probably be playing in a very negative game script. The good news, it does look like Aiden O'Connell's going to return this week because that was a late part of that game that the Raiders were playing in. Gardner Minshew broke his collarbone. Desmond Ridder was a complete disaster when he came into the game. So it's looking like Aiden O'Connell will be back this week, which is good for Ameer Abdullah because he's much more capable of checking it down to his running backs and getting this passing game moving a little bit. So, and that's going to be the most important part for him. But it does look like Madison and Zamir White, I would think that they're more on the side that they're likely going to miss this week because of it's a Friday game. They lose 2 days to get back for week 13. So it's looking like Ameer Abdullah, at least for another week here, could be a plug and play type of guy if you're hurting at the position.
This next guy might be a 1 week rental if you need him. And, at the running back position this year, Tom, there haven't really been a whole lot of weeks when you've needed somebody because of how healthy the position has been relative to history. That being said, the Commanders' situation in the backfield. Brian Robinson got hurt on his first carry against the Cowboys, killed my DFS lineups. And by the way, my DFS lineups would have been dead anyway because the Commanders let the Cowboys in that game, and that was a slop fest. So the injury isn't why I lost. The injury is I completely misread that game. But that being said, he gets hurt on the first carry. He returns, and then they're like, all right, you're not effective. We got to take you out. Yep. Austin Eckler, who's had some really big moments of late for the Commanders, suffers a scary, scary concussion on the Commanders' last kickoff return. He was knocked out cold. I am hard-pressed to think he's going to play this week. Mm-hmm. So maybe if you need somebody, Jeremy McNichols is the guy I guess who would be the lead back. The Commanders did have Chris Rodriguez. They cut him. I would presume he's going to be re-signed this week for some insurance, but I would think Jeremy McNichols is the guy, Tom. In the event, Brian Robinson can't play this week.
Yeah, this is one to monitor, but maybe if you've been playing Brian Robinson, at least need to pick up Jeremy McNichols for a little bit of insurance here. Maybe he can even carve out a role if you're playing in a really deep league, a 14 or 16 team league. As you said, Joe, with Austin Eckler suffering a nasty concussion in that game, I'd imagine that he could be shut down for a couple of weeks here because of how scary that injury was. So maybe this is a spot where they don't want to give Brian Robinson all of the work necessarily the rest of the way. So maybe McNichols, even if Robinson does come back this week, maybe he can carve out a little bit of a role next to Brian Robinson if you're playing in deep leagues. But and if Robinson is unable to play, he should see most of this work. As you said, though, Chris Rodriguez, I would imagine that they sign him back this week. He would get some of those early down carries next to him. So it won't be like that's why he's in this article. I have him down a little bit lower than Ameer Abdullah and Tank Bigsby, just because I would think that Chris Rodriguez would be involved in this backfield if they do resign him and Brian Robinson cannot play this week. But still worth a pickup as some insurance here if you're a Brian Robinson owner.
I do want to hit one tight end, Tom, just because he plays on Thanksgiving. I believe Mike McCarthy said it doesn't look good for Jake Ferguson playing on Thanksgiving against the Giants in that wonderful game that we're going to see between the Cowboys and the Giants. Hey, the Cowboys are hot, man. They're coming off a win. Luke Schoonmaker scored his touchdown against Washington. John Hansen, the guru, has been nailing these skank tight ends all year. Well, that did not sound right. That did not sound right at all.
But he has.
He's been
red hot with him.
He's red hot picking up tight ends off the waiver wire. Schoonmaker available in 90% of Yahoo leagues, Tom. Again, nobody's on bye this week, so maybe you had somebody this past week who was on bye who's back, like an Evan Ingram, for instance. But all that being said, Luke Schoonmaker could be a borderline top 12 option this week.
Yeah, another double-digit fantasy performance. Now this is the second game that Jake Ferguson has missed, and he's been able to. Actually, it's the third game where Ferguson has missed significant time because of that Monday night game 2 weeks ago as well. And Schoonmaker has hit double-digit fantasy points in all these games. And just the way Cooper Rush is playing, it's all low ADOT. Get the ball out of his hands quick. He's leading the league in time to throw at 2.07 seconds in our fantasy points data. So everything is out quick. So a lot of these targets are funneling towards the tight ends that aren't going towards CeeDee Lamb. So he's very viable. As you said, the Giants aren't necessarily a scary matchup. The only thing I would worry about is, this is actually a game that they maybe could control, and they don't have to get in these real pass-heavy game scripts that they've been in the last couple of weeks. So, but still, he's looking very viable if you're looking for a streamer this week.
Tom, Noah Gray, I'll just touch on it lightly. He's got 4 touchdowns in his last 2 games. The Raiders are a fantastic matchup for opposing tight ends. But Noah Gray, to me, screams like the kind of guy you're like, oh, Kelsey's getting older and this guy looks like him out there, and he drops 1 for 8 on you. Like, that's what that kind of feels like. But I guess he's viable in a deeper league. Now, I want to go to the wide receiver position because there's one guy in particular I really want to talk about. Sean Payton said today that this young man, who's actually an old rookie, but he's a young man.
He's not too young at all.
Relative to me, Devaughn Vele reminds him of Marcus Colston. And the usage suggests that's a valid comparison. And Bo Nix, Tom, I mean, we might be 1 week away from Bo Nix being the favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's still Jaden Daniels, but Bo Nix is right there at like plus 110 right now. His level of play has elevated Courtland Sutton, and it is now elevating Devaughn Vele, who is rostered in just 5% of Yahoo leagues.
Yeah, I put him up towards the top of the wide receiver position in the article, just because, he is lower owned here, and we're looking for guys that can help you out here. And he's hit double-digit fantasy production in 3 straight games, coming off a 6 for 80 performance on 9 targets against the Raiders. So that's 3 straight games with 4 catches or more. And he's hit 4 receptions or more in 5 of his 8 games. So he was starting to get involved. He had a big game in the season opener. Not a big game, but he just had a lot of targets and catches in the season opener. But then he missed some time and was a little bit of a healthy scratch. But he is now a big, important part of this offense moving forward. Courtland Sutton is obviously the top dog and playing at an extremely high level. But Vele has kind of stepped up here as the number 2 option for Bo Nix. And whenever he's not chucking it down the field for Courtland Sutton, it's the shorter passes to Devaughn Vele. So if you're looking for some PPR help, he could provide it.
So let's go now to Carolina, where Bryce Young turned in an impressive performance, kind of going toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. Played certainly well enough for Carolina to win that football game. The Chiefs are on my shit list because they have blown a teaser on me 2 weeks in a row. I am not teasing that team again the rest of this year. There's no way. You cannot convince me to do it. Tune into the Best Bet show later this week, by the way, if you want to see my awful bets. But Xavier Legette, Tom, with the way Bryce Young played, Young's best throw of the game, as a matter of fact, against the Chiefs might have been one down the left sideline that Legette dropped. Drops have been a little bit of an issue for Legette, but he is by far their most talented receiver. Now, David Moore, the veteran's been a little bit more consistent, but Legette is by far Carolina's most talented receiver. And if Bryce Young is going to maintain the level of play that he just showed against Kansas City, then Xavier Legette's got a shot, in my opinion, to be kind of a useful back-end wide receiver 3 the rest of the season.
Yeah, he played a little bit of a different role here the last week or two with David Moore getting more reps, and they're kind of preparing for whenever they have Legette, Adam Thielen, and Jalen Coker healthy at the same time. I guess my one worry would be that David Moore has played pretty good the last couple of weeks, so maybe he's earning a spot in this rotation, and we could see 4 receivers rotated instead of 3. But Legette has been the red zone guy. He's gotten 4 touchdowns already. Had another opportunity this past week, and he's actually top 40 receiving yards this against the Chiefs. So maybe if Bryce Young continues to take a step forward here, Legette could be the number 1 guy. And Thielen had a smaller role in his first game back. So Legette is, if we're looking for a piece here that maybe you're stashing at the end of your bench and you're looking for maybe a couple weeks from now somebody to emerge, Legette would be one of these guys that I bet on as a younger player with pedigree and maybe an offense that's starting to take a few steps forward here over the last 3 games with Bryce Young.
All right, so make sure you check out FantasyPoints.com. Remember, the flash sale for Black Friday week. $3 standard gets you the Waiver Wire article. $10 premium gets you everything on standard plus betting and DFS. $40 all in gets you the data suite as well, which you can also check out for free this week only. Go to FantasyPoints.com. Check out that Waiver Wire article, which is going to have more breakdowns from Tom Brawley on the Titans wide receiver situation. The Colts have a wide receiver injury this week. That's something to monitor. Maybe you're in a super flex league looking for some of these lower-end quarterbacks to pick up. You will be glad you did. T-Bro, enjoy Thanksgiving, my friend, but We'll don't worry. We'll be making some bad bets for the Best Bets podcast. And I'm looking forward to that with you and good friend Trey. Take it easy, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe, by the way, to this channel. Like the video, leave a comment. Love all that stuff. Have a good one.